is real.
Jonathan Roumie, best known for playing Jesus in the hit series The Chosen, surprised a packed pro-life rally by sounding nothing like his on-screen character. He strode to the microphone and thundered, "They say we live in a post-Christian society. I reject that." With those words, he set the tone for a scorching critique of modern media. Roumie explained to the crowd the entertainment landscape has become overtaken by a sharp and disturbing increase in the darkness of the imagery being used in film, television, and music, in some cases even demonic in tone. He pointed to the most alarming trend: storylines involving the occult, witchcraft, demons, and even satanic elements are commonplace in mainstream programming. Roumie left no doubt who was to blame. He quipped that he didn't even need to name names. Everyone knows what he meant. After all, he told his audience, "Before you jump on me, I'm not specifically referencing a certain bespectacled wizard, though a few folks might disagree. But I'm referring to the media, which is even more ominous. You know it when you see it." With that line, he glanced at Hollywood blockbusters and hit TV shows festooned with sorcery and the supernatural. In Roumie's view, this wasn't innocent fantasy entertainment at all, but evidence of an ominous media campaign to push people away from faith. He stressed that children and vulnerable viewers are especially at risk. In today's pop culture, media has become a portal to behavior and attitudes kids want to emulate that reject God, reject the light, and reject ultimately all those aspects of community which give life. In other words, he said, big studios are now peddling a culture of darkness that tells viewers to ignore God. Roumie didn't stop there. He argued that Hollywood is deliberately cleansing the divine from our culture. "I have observed God subtly but radically being removed from popular culture over the last couple of decades, replaced with some of the most corruptive images and ideologies for young hearts and minds," he declared. And if anyone still dares to profess faith, Roumie noted, they're immediately branded a religious fanatic. Believers are condemned for their beliefs with the assertions of the religiosity of a Pharisee. All of this, he said, is exactly contrary to the message of Jesus. If only the rest of the world actually took the time to explore what it means to follow Jesus' heart. For the majority of believers, God is love, and true love gives way to life, not death, he reminded everyone. In short, Roumie turned the tables on the very notion that America is post-Christian. He shouted down that cliche. "They say we live in a post-Christian society. I reject that." Instead, he insisted that Christians must change the culture by impacting the culture. Roumie urged listeners to ignore the noise of the popular and embrace the countercultural love of Christ. He warned that the world's default path, the road that is wide which leads to destruction, is crowded. Believers, he said, quoting Matthew 7:13-14, must choose the narrow path to life. Enter through the narrow gate, for therein lies the kingdom of heaven. Roumie spent much of his speech detailing exactly how Hollywood and social media are being used as weapons against faith. "We are under an assault on our sense of virtue, an affront to the innate holiness we are all imbued with, and an attack on the family structure and the sacredness of the gift of life." He didn't mince words. First, he cataloged the horror and occult propaganda in mainstream film and TV. He pointed out that almost any big-budget movie or hit series now includes scenes of the supernatural, curses, demons, witchcraft, that serve to desensitize viewers to evil. In Roumie's blunt assessment, this isn't just entertainment, it's a steady drip of evil being pumped into society. He made it clear he was talking about the culture at large, not just one film or character, and challenged audiences to name any widely popular show that wasn't steeped in dark themes. Social media sites rife with images of hypersexuality give the youngest of our digitally consuming generation the impression that that is how you're supposed to look, as if some fantasy of aesthetic perfection is the road to happiness. It is not. He noted that the effect is to teach kids and adults to reject anything that points to God or goodness. According to Roumie, modern media becomes a portal to behaviors and attitudes that reject God, reject the light. Hollywood is slowly schooling viewers in godless, nihilistic values. These points drew audible gasps from the crowd. Roumie even admitted that facing down a critic's objection was unnecessary. The evidence was all around them, he reminded everyone. It was a loaded jab at the film industry and media giants. No mainstream superhero movie or TV drama could escape scrutiny under Roumie's fiery rhetoric. This, he explained, is a deliberate strategy to silence believers. Roumie stressed that this attitude is completely contrary to the Christian message. He reminded the crowd that Jesus himself taught love and life, not fear and judgment. The rest of the world would do well to explore what it means to follow Jesus' heart, he said, lamenting that media portrayals of religion are almost always negative. In contrast, he insisted, for the majority of believers, God is love, and true love gives way to life. This was Roumie's counter-argument to Hollywood's sneers. Faith doesn't make you a fanatic, it makes you a champion of life. Do not let mainstream media's shallow depictions of sexuality and sexual irresponsibility deceive you into thinking that such an approach to love and relationships is without consequences. The message was clear. Roumie believes Hollywood has lost its moral compass. He wasn't whispering or hedging his bets. He was outright accusing the industry of leading people astray. And by coming out forcefully, he did run a personal risk. As Roumie himself admitted, standing up here was neither the obvious career choice nor easy. Many Christian entertainers keep their beliefs private, fearing they'll be shut out of future roles. Not Roumie. He said he had no choice but to speak out. This guy, Jesus, made me do it, and insisted he is better for it. At the heart of Roumie's speech was a challenge. Don't give up in the face of Hollywood's secular onslaught. He rebuffed the notion that faith is irrelevant today. Instead of despairing in a post-Christian world, believers must double down. Change the culture by impacting the culture, he urged. Roumie painted a vivid contrast. Society pushes the wide, destructive path. Many will enter it, but Jesus offers the narrow road that leads to life. He pleaded with Christians to tune out the lies of popular media and embrace the counterculture of Christ's love. To hammer the point home, Roumie drew on strong imagery. He warned that today's culture is literally celebrating death, abortion, broken families, moral chaos, and Christians must swim upstream against that tide. It's difficult to choose life in a culture that celebrates death, he admitted, but choosing life meant speaking truth, even when it's unpopular. We are charged to be the standard bearers who defend and preserve the dignity of every human, but especially the most vulnerable. Examine and expose the areas of darkness in your world, in your community, and bring light everywhere you go. That was Roumie's own declaration. He had tried everything else to build his acting career, but when he finally surrendered to God's prompting, he saw real change. Now, he's determined to use his platform, however big or small, to shine a light on truth. In case anyone missed the gravity of his charge, Roumie made an urgent appeal. Christians are under an assault on their sense of virtue and face an attack on the family structure and the sacredness of the gift of life. In other words, Hollywood isn't just undermining faith, it's waging war on the foundational values of society. He painted a picture of a spiritual battlefield. Virtue, holiness, even human dignity are being systematically attacked in the entertainment industry and beyond. The question is, where do you stand?